Why Damian Lillard completely changes the Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks were recently able to acquire Damian Lillard in an absolutely surprising deal. And this not only completely changes things for Milwaukee, but it completely changes things for the Eastern Conference, as the Bucks were already previous to this deal a championship contender. But now by adding Damian Lillard, it completely takes them to the next level. And in my opinion, the addition of Dame to this roster not only completely changes the Bucks, but also completely changes the Eastern Conference. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm JuicySports. I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. Over the more recent history, the Milwaukee Bucks have just been one of those teams that have been one of the better teams in the NBA. It just seems like each and every season, not only are they able to make the playoffs, but they're able to be legitimate championship contenders. And they even won an NBA championship back in the 2021 year. But a question that some of you may be having at this point is, why was Milwaukee able to be so successful over a decent amount of time? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to a couple different factors, but the main factor is clearly their star player in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a special player out there. I think it's pretty clear, and I also think there's an argument to be made that he's the best player in the NBA. What Giannis does out there is amazing, not only for himself individually, as he's able to put up 30 plus points on any given night by himself, but he also does a great job at playing within the flow of the offense. And what I mean by that is he doesn't necessarily force shots as much as some other guys do, and at the same time, he does a great job at taking what the defense gives him. If the defense gives him the opportunity to score for himself, he's going to take that. If the defense leaves some other guys wide open, Giannis is going to kick out to those open guys for easy looks. And I just think the fact that their star player has that kind of ability to either score for himself or create for others at a very high level, it just makes Milwaukee's offense that much more dynamic and that much more difficult to defend. And of course, that's going to be extremely effective during the regular season, making the Bucks a really difficult team to beat, but especially once it comes down to the playoffs and offense is a little bit more hard to come by, having a guy like Giannis on your roster to just create for himself or others is a huge reason for why, in my opinion, the Bucks have been able to be so successful. Now, even besides Giannis, Milwaukee has done a great job at putting great players around him, like Jrue Holiday, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton. There's just so many different players on this roster that have a nice ability to create for themselves, but also have a great ability to spot up and hit those catch and shoot three-point jump shots when Giannis is going to have the ball. And I just think the Bucks have done a great job at perfectly fitting different players and putting them alongside Giannis. And that's the biggest reason for why I think Milwaukee has been able to be super successful over the more recent history. But now when you think about adding the player of the caliber of Damian Lillard to a team that already has been extremely successful over the last 5 or so seasons, you can just imagine how this completely changes everything for Milwaukee. Now, when you look at the actual deal and some of the players the Bucks traded away for Damian Lillard, they definitely did move on from some of their key pieces, most notably Jrue Holiday. And although Jrue did play a huge role for why the Bucks were able to be so successful over the years, not only due to his great offensive ability, but also due to his great defensive ability. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about adding a player of the caliber of Damian Lillard, I just think the amount he's going to help you out offensively, not only as an individual scorer, but also for everybody else on the roster, is going to be so much more significant than anything that Jrue Holiday was able to add to this Bucks roster. But now, the next question that some of you may be wondering is, what exactly does Dame bring to this Bucks roster? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to a bunch of different factors, but I think the main factor has to be his overall offensive ability. Now, when you look at Dame's offensive game overall, it's pretty clear that he's really special out there. He has a great ability to hit the catch and shoot three-point jump shot, but even besides that, he has a great ability to create for himself from that range as well, as he does a great job at hitting the one dribble pull-up from that three-point range, crossover, sidestep, and even step back at times. And the great thing about Dame's three-point shooting ability is not only does he have the ability to basically do everything out there, but he also has incredible range, which is something that we've seen a lot in actual NBA games, but even more specifically in the All-Star game. But even besides his great three-point shooting ability, Dame also has a really nice ability from that mid-range area, as he has all those similar abilities that he had from that three-point range, like the catch and shoot mid-range jumper, one dribble pull-up, crossover, sidestep, and step back, and even at times has a nice ability to hit the post turnaround fadeaway from that mid-range area. Now, driving all the way to the basket, Dame also has a great ability to finish through contact with N1 finishes, finish around contact with either hand, either his left or right, has a nice ability to put up that little floater in the lane, even has an ability to dunk over players at times, and it's pretty clear from top to bottom, in terms of Damian Lillard's offensive ability, he's a very complete player out there. And I think just based upon that one factor alone, the fact that Dame is so great offensively is a huge reason for why I think the Bucks are going to be better overall by adding this guy. But when you also consider the fact that Dame even has a decent ability to play off ball and has a really good ability to hit that catch and shoot 3-point jump shot, I think that's even better for this Milwaukee team, because a lot of the times Giannis is going to have the ball in his hands, and if you have your other star player and Dame have the ability to hit that catch and shoot 3-point jump shot at a really high level, it's just going to make the transition that much more seamless between these two star players. And when you have two stars the caliber of Giannis and Dame, and if they buy into what the coach is selling and play well together, which is something I fully expect based upon their play styles, I do think it's going to be even that much more difficult to beat this Milwaukee team, and it's going to make them that much more dangerous. But also, the next factor that I want to touch upon for why I think the addition of Dame completely changes everything for Milwaukee is due to the veteran presence he's going to bring to this locker room. Now, when you look at the Bucks, although they do have some younger guys, they also have a lot of guys with experience, and they're not necessarily a team that desperately needs a veteran presence in the locker room. They definitely have a couple of guys that fill that role. But when you lose a player of the caliber of Jrue Holiday, he was one of those guys that had a real presence in the locker room. But at the same time, when you replace him with a guy like Damian Lillard, who's not only been in the NBA for a long time, but has been one of the better players in the NBA for a long time, and still at this point, he's still one of the better players in the league, it just makes a significant impact to a roster. Even if they have all the experience in the world or they have no experience, adding a player of the caliber of Dame is going to pay huge dividends for your roster. So overall, I am actually a huge fan of what the Bucks were able to accomplish in this Dame deal. They were able to keep a relatively similar roster that they had prior to the deal, but they were also able to bring in a guy that's going to completely change this offense. And I think during the regular season, the Bucks are going to be a much better team, but especially once it comes down to playoff time, I think there's going to be a huge change for Milwaukee, as Dame has also been a guy who's been known to play really well in the clutch time and also during the playoffs. And at this point going into next season, I would have a hard time believing any other team besides Milwaukee should be the championship favorites. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening with this Milwaukee team, not only during the regular season, but more importantly, once it comes down to playoff time. If all these guys are able to stay healthy, I do think they have a great chance to win the NBA championship this upcoming year. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the addition of Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks completely changes everything, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.